I'll throw out another name here. Ironically, the guy who's going right after Geno Smith or was ranked right after Geno Smith. It's Will Levis from the Tennessee Titans. I think he checks a lot of the boxes that we are talking about for this exercise, which is one, kind of the upside of the unknown. That was certainly present with Jordan Love last year as a younger quarterback, but somebody we'd seen a little bit of, right? We've seen a little bit of Will Levis. We've definitely seen more of him than we probably saw of Jordan Love heading into last year. You laughed at my comparison of him being this era's Jameis Winston. Sounds like a great archetype for this exercise, right? Like a random top 5 season. And God, man, the more I've thought about the Titans, why I'm thinking about the Titans in June is, I do get paid for this. I guess that's probably why. But the more I think about Tennessee, it's just they are set up to have a pretty nice little incubator for a young quarterback, right? They've got 2, I'll say, good receivers, 2 guys that probably aren't at their respective peaks anymore in DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, but verified like good starting receivers. They've got depth with Tyler Boyd. They've got Chigo Okonkwo, who I haven't fully given up on yet. And is Brian Callahan Matt LaFleur? I don't know about that, but I think he comes off of a good situation in Cincinnati. I like a lot of what they did sort of in the back half of last year, troubleshooting the offense and setting it up for a different quarterback other than Joe Burrow. I don't know, man. I think that the situation for Will Levis is pretty good. And I think Will Levis showed I would say he showed something last year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I considered Will Levis. He wasn't like in my list of 3. But I definitely thought about him because obviously you'd like to see a team generally do some things to improve the offensive environment around a young quarterback. They definitely did that. Tyjae Spears is one of those, just thinking about it with Aaron Jones. He's also a great source of like cheap and easy yards. He had a wonderful season last year. Ridley definitely an upgrade, even if he's not like vintage Calvin Ridley. It's hard to get that Hopkins game out of your mind from last year, right? Like Levis showed off the arm, a bunch of deep shots to DeAndre. Like that was really fun. You can definitely see the traits that intrigue the NFL with Will Levis. I don't know that there's not really rushing upside here necessarily. Right, although yeah. I think he did have like a pretty good rushing season in college several years ago. But there's not like that rushing bump that we're going to get here. So I didn't ultimately put him on my list, but I can, like, I don't know. The NFL has done weirder stuff to us than cough up a big Will Levis season. So could I see him finishing, because you want to give pretty healthy projections to both Ridley and DeAndre, assuming good health all season. And if I don't know, it's probably pretty easy to get to 25 or 26 touchdowns with Will Levis. I definitely think that's in play, probably with a healthy number of interceptions as well. But if you can get to 25, 26 touchdowns, you could probably luck your way into 4 or 5 more. And once we're brushing up against 30, now we're really talking about a fantasy relevant player. So I wouldn't rule this out entirely. He just didn't make my final list. He
probably, I think, could have a stat line a lot like Matthew Stafford last year, who threw 24 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, 92.5 passer rating. Obviously didn't give you anything as a rusher. That's good for QB 15 in fantasy, which is a little more realistic, I think, than top 5 quarterback. Yeah. But that season I can very much envision for Will Levis if he's good, right? If he's, I don't even know if he needs to be good, right? He just needs to be a viable starting-ish fringe NFL quarterback. And that if you play 17 games with good receivers, like you can squeeze into the top 16, and we're like, how did he get there? Happens. Yeah, I don't know if I want to put him as a finalist, but I think he fits this archetype really well. So I'm fine discussing a few other names before we settle on a different set of finalists here. But he's someone that I've got on my short list to move into the top 3 if you are not too opposed to it, or unless, I don't know, man, because some of these other names are gross. So go ahead and give me your next candidate here, Andy.